Hello, I'm Hatrix, and today I've cooked up and made something that caters forward people either looking to prestige their character and wanting to get into some caster builds, or people starting out for the first time in Ascension and want some inspiration to what to pick at level 1 and help them out because there's a lot of stuff you can be picking in this game. Let me say this is a PvE build guide. This is mostly catered for PvE. These can be used for PvP, but it's not the intention. So also, this is not anything required that you get any of the legendaries or roll any of the legendaries. All of the builds I'm included in this video have a budget version or something you can bare minimum roll or head forwards to. But if you high roll, there is something for you as well if you get the legendary that you set yourself up to at level 1. So you don't need to anything. And when you set the build up from level 1, in this way there's multiple ways you can hit. And also all of these builds I show, all of these spells from level 1, these are very suitable to farm endgame stuff. Not the greatest AoE unless you get an AoE skill, but at least like good single target damage or decent single target damage. So what is the build template? You know you have 4 abilities level 1. So 1 damage ability, the spammable button, like Wrath, Fireball, Frostbolt. You have mana gain. You will almost 9 out of 10 pick Life Tap. That is the best mana gain in Ascension. You would have a pet. This is for the damage the pet provides, but it's also for the talents the pets can give you. Then you have a flex slot. This is either like Life Tap, Arcane Intellect like a buff, or a synergistic spell. So like for Wrath, not really anything, but like you would maybe pick Earthshock because it's nature based, and Wrath is nature based as well. So what spammable skills do we have? There's a list here. And also what are the filler and support? And by that I mean, so Earthshock is the filler and support for Lightning Bolt because there's an endgame build with Earthshock and both of them are nature skills. Shadow Bolt and Corruption goes hand in hand because Shadow Bolt can refresh your corruption. So there's a build just by picking Shadow Bolt and Corruption. That is a build in itself. Fireball, Fireblast for hot hands, Pyroblast spamming fire mages. Why choose a pet at level 1? This is not mandatory, this is optional to having the opportunity, at least in this Wildcard season, in season 9, to be hitting the talents of, for example, Power of the Elements, giving more damage. And also when you have the pet, you have the opportunity to pick Enslave Demon, Summon Imp. These gives either the Demonic Knowledge or the Summon Imp talent that gives increased fire damage and crit. Also you can pick the Dragon for more flexible choosing of the buff you want from the Dragon. These are at least some increased damage. You also get some from Tame Beast. Small damage increase from just having a pet. Yeah. Example starter build. So why are you choosing, let's say, Lightning Bolt and Earthshock? This is because Lightning Bolt in itself works as a very good build, and then there's a chance that you hit like legendary effects for Lightning Bolt, and that one example is Booming Thunder. So Booming Thunder makes so Chain Lightning Lightning Bolt increase the damage of your next Earthshock, and that is has been a legendary and a build in itself for Ascension for many years. So how do you roll this in level 1? You use your spammable ability, Lightning Bolt, you take your synergistic one, and pet of your choice, and mana. Then you will have Life Tap in order to sustain your mana. Pet can also be Arcane Intellect. So for Lightning Bolt builds, this is the bread and butter. Like going for Booming Thunder is basically free. You don't really lose anything from picking Earthshock. It's actually nice to have an insta spell, and you can just pick any Lightning Bolt modifiers you see anyway. The same, yeah, you can see it here. The same goes for the Astral Storm. If you're lucky to hit this, it's actually the same talent you have to pick for this. And even for Shamanism, it's reduce the cooldown of your Astral Storm, any Shadow Thunderstorm modifiers. This is high roll for the build, also good scaling for Lightning Bolt. So this is something to keep in mind. On your first run, don't expect to hit the Astral Storm. Maybe have it on a skill card. This then you can actually go for this build. Astral Storm has been hitting for like 10-20k I've seen in endgame, so it's definitely a new strong endgame option. A lot of good modifiers, also some legendaries with Thunderstorm. Just search for it and you can see what is available. Arcane Fantasy have been doing pretty good last season. I haven't seen it myself, I haven't tried it that much, but I know for others that it's been working out, so that is also something to look out for. So that is Arcane Missiles and Lightning Bolt. So that instead of picking Earth Shock at level 1, you will pick in Arcane Missiles instead. So that is how you flex and choose what opportunities you want to see for yourself, what playstyles you want to look for. Wrath, that is the same. If you want to pick Wrath, you can pick the Earth Shock. Or if you don't only want to Wrath modifiers and go for Eclipse build, you can just pick Arcane Intellect, Moonfire to hit stuff quickly. So again, if you just want pure Eclipse build, you only need to hit the Eclipse talent to get started, and you want to hit the Starfire. And you, for Earth Pulse Agony, you want to have the Lightning Bolt Mastery and Lightning Bolt. This has been doing I've seen this doing very insane damage, so this is definitely a build I can be working on. I'm not sure how the build builds in itself, but yeah, definitely a strong contender for Wrath build. Harping of Pestilence, this legendary has been nerfed like 5 times since it came out, so it's a very strong legendary. I think it has been buffed in the last iteration before we get into season 9. So yeah, for this you want to look for Haunt, and you want to look for Wrath of the Plague and any of the Pestilence, Plaguebringer epics. And if you have any of these, well, you have a build going, or if you have the talent cards, of course. Shadowbolt, as I mentioned in the start, Shadowbolt and Corruption is a build in itself. Everlasting Affliction, make it so if you scale Corruption, you can even snapshot it, and you can just keep your Corruption going, and you want to scale Corruption modifiers, and also Shadowbolt modifiers with Shadow modifiers. Jadefire Corruption, same version as Corruption, you can even refresh them both. So this is how you could start your Shadowbolt build. Shadowbolt for your spam ability, synergy with Corruption, and you can even choose not to have a pet and use Curse of Agony. And because of you, this is, you can see, so there's not really more you can hit Haunt as well to scale the dot thing. You can even see here that the Argyl's Tainted Legendary, so this is like a really high roll, but if you choose to have Curse of Agony instead of your pet, you can even scale some Curse of Agony modifier, at least for single target. This I have not tried, but I believe all of the previous legendaries has been working out pretty good. If you, instead of normal pet, you choose Enslave Undead, Dominate Undead, and you hit Drain Life. And if you hit these 2 legendaries, this is again high roll, but just something to keep out for. If you hit Haunt and especially Drain Life, this is also a build direction you can take your Shadowbolt build in. So if you picked Smite in level 1, I've said Holy Fire ? And Divine Illumination, Twilight Paragon, previous very godly legendary in Ascension. So Holy Fire, by this I mean there are so many Holy Fire Smite shenanigans synergy. So just if you hit Smite and Holy Fire, there's so many directions to go. That's why I included it in one section like that. Divine Illumination. This is also Smite synergy. It makes so when casting Smite, if you have this epic, hit it, you reduce the cooldown of it, so you can just keep it up infinite almost. Depending on how much haste you have. So you will have 40% increased spell damage. This is almost a build in itself. You kind of want to synergize it with the Arcane Missiles for the Prophet of Wrath build, the last old legendary, but also just scaling Smite modifiers in general, like in itself, is very strong because Smite is a strong skill. Twilight Paragon, an old legendary enchantment. So you want to, if you roll Exorcism and Mindfully and hit the Twilight Paragon, so keep these spells, and if you hit any of these legendaries, you have a very strong build going. This can be hard to scale. There's a lot of component to scale this, so it is hard to roll, and definitely probably not. It's going to be hard on your first run to hit this, but maybe you're lucky. So Arcane Missiles. The first bare bone Arcane Missiles I want to show is just like pure Arcane Mage. If you can hit either the Missile Barrage or Netherwind Presence, you basically have a build going in itself, especially if you can hit the Arcane Barrage from Arcane Mage. Or this is very budget to get on your second run on your Prestige. Or if you make a second character, you can just buy this for Dark Moon tickets. Also, Arcane Power, Power Overwhelming. Arcane Power is a epic skill you can hit, or you can have the skill card. This is easily to grind actually, if you have the Dark Moon tickets. Also, Legendary Power Overwhelming to increase all of the scaling of the Arcane build. Again, Divine Illumination, the other part, the Prophet of Wrath, where you scale more of the Arcane Missiles part and make it to Holy Power instead. So you scale it as a Holy modifier and get all the Holy modifier increases, like, yeah, a lot of them in like Holy Priest. So Arcane Fantasia, we talked about that earlier. That is also if you picked Arcane Missiles and kept the Lightning Bolt. Frostbolt have 3 variation I've taken here. One very basic, one very hard roll, and one very fun to roll, I think. The basic one is just if you hit Fingers of Frost, you have unlocked all of the potential for what Frost builds can do in Ascension, compared to any of the, this is just the tip of the iceberg, hehe. And this is, sorry for that, I'm very sorry. And this is 3 of the legendaries, but all of the legendaries now combined into different REs. You can buy with Frostbolt. Back then you can only had either Ice Barrage, Stave, Frosty, like Frostbomb was a legendary in itself. Now you can just compare all of these legendaries into one big Frost build. Also, this is a hard one. Touch of Death, Fingers of Death was a legendary beforehand, scaling shadow damage with Frostbolt, so hybrid Frost and Shadow. So keep that in mind if you hit Vampiric Touch, preferable with Shadow Form, and Icelands. That is a build in itself. Evoker, they're very fun. Also, a nice way to level this is if you pick all of the mage spells and you can go in all 3 directions. That opens you up for a lot of options what you can hit. And Evoker is such a fun playstyle. I think there's even a legendary for this, but it just makes such a fun rotation, proccing Brain Freeze, proccing Missile Barrage, proccing Fingers of Frost, casting by procs. That is so fun. Fireball, 1 basic, just the hot streak build, and then 2 yeah, let's take them when it comes. Hot streak, just scaling the ignite damage from crits, scaling crit damage. Here you want the summon imp instead, because then you can see we have Master Demonologist, increasing fire damage and fire crit chance by imp. So that is one of the better demons to have, and you can also even get the demonic knowledge, so you get increased spell damage from intellect. Some talents to look out for if you have the imp. And yeah, lots of synergistic talents when you have a fireball caster. Here instead you can pick Fire Blast, and there is some legendaries benefiting from Fire Blast instead. Here, if you, this is a high roll, disclaimer, this is hard to roll, very hard to roll, requires a lot of specific talents and abilities like Astral Flare. There's even a Star Surge fire form, but this is Eclipse built with fire scaling. So also you need basically all ignite and the fire increases to, besides all of this, to make it work. So maybe not on your first run, but sometimes on your first run you're lucky and you hit all of the Eclipse stuff. And if it's your second run, maybe you get the Eclipse talent. And if you've seen my need to have video, if you have not, I recommend to see that, because you really need to have Eclipse talented in order to roll this if you're doing a prestige run. But definitely a fun build to try out. Rest of the build, I'm not making a full build guide, but yeah, just anything benefits from Eclipse, fire, shenanigans. You can see that if you search Eclipse, it comes together. And yeah, at the end, I've chose to fireball synergy with some of the destruction parts. It's mostly immolate and hitting the conflag, and you can scale the immolate damage. Other part here, if you look out for the energy bolt and the elemental destruction, but yeah, mostly the fireball shenanigans with immolate. Else, other things you can hit is the cast bolt, and you also have just a pure destruction fireball build and hitting the talents in destruction warlock. And yeah, that's actually it. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this style of video and you could use it either for making your first caster build on Ascension, or if you are doing your first prestige run and wanting some inspiration on what you can use your talent cards for and what builds to look out for in Ascension. And if you haven't subscribed yet, consider it if you want to get notified when I post my videos. It means a lot to me. And also want to say thanks for everyone who have supported me so far. We're almost close to 100 subscribers. And yeah, thanks a lot, guys. See you in the next video.